Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Noah Kuranga, and I'm the Sergeant at Arms here at UGA Toastmasters. I'm on this wonderful Monday. It's awesome just to see everyone here again, just to be able to meet and improve our public speaking skills. So I'm going to start off this meeting. And before I go any further, can I ask someone to read our mission statement? It's on the bottom left-hand corner of this agenda.
I can do it.
Thank you, Tori.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Thank you so much, Tori. And I just want to say just once again, thank you for everyone showing up and coming out and, having the confidence to, work on your public speaking skills and just meet some awesome new people. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to our president, Slate Nations.
Noah, that was a great introduction to another online meeting of UGA Toastmasters in the fall. So welcome everyone, returning members, new members, and guests. This is UGA Toastmasters. We are a public speaking club, but we are much more than that. We also improve leadership, communication skills, and confidence. Everything listed in our mission statement that you just heard a second ago. We really strive to give a judgment-free zone to improve your skills. That said, we have two speakers. I look forward to hearing them today. We have our Toastmaster as well as Table Topics Master, Tori. She'll be going into her roles. And I'm ready to have a great meeting. I mentioned it before the meeting started. Once again, make sure some quick Zoom etiquette. Make sure your mic is muted whenever you're not speaking. And that's it for now. Tori, Toastmaster Tori, you can take it away.
Toastmaster Tori, I love it. All right, awesome. Thank you, Slate. So pretty much what the Toastmaster does is kind of runs through the entire meeting, make sure everything's on schedule, that we finish on time, make sure everyone's got the right roles lined up. So what I'm going to go ahead and do first is call the reporters to the stage, and they're going to give little snippets of what their roles consist of. So the first one is the Grammarian, which is Slate.
I'll be the grammarian for today. The grammarian keeps track of all grammar usage throughout the meeting. This includes improper grammar, including run-on sentences, as well as really good uses of grammar, some particularly interesting quotes that I hear, and finally, the correct uses of the word of the day, which today is juncture. And that is a point in time, especially one made critical by concurrence of circumstances. And normally in in-person meetings, give you a little history, we have this fun tradition to snap when we're in our in-person meetings. Unfortunately, because our mics are muted, we can't really convey that very well, so we replace that with the thumbs up emoji on Zoom. So whenever someone uses that, either slips it in their speech, prepared speech, or during table topics, or anytime, you can just give a little thumbs up. Back to you, Toastmaster Tori.
Perfect. Thank you, Slate. Yeah, so just to reemphasize, use the word of the day if you can fit it in there somewhere. And the next reporter role is also going to be Slate today. We're just doubling up on roles today, and that is going to be all counters. So Slate, if you could give a little snippet of that as well.
I'll be the all counter today as well. And the all counter will keep track of all filler words. So everything from extended ands, you knows, but yeahs, anything that's unnecessary and detracts from the speech. So I'll just keep track of that, give the highlights of the most used ones throughout the meeting, and a list of everyone's prominent one. Thank you, Tori.
Perfect. Thank you, Slate. So the last reporter is going to be the timer, which will be Tricia today. So Tricia, if you want to give a little snippet as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tori. Good evening, everyone. As tonight's timer, I will, what the name speakers, Courtney will have 5 to 7 minutes, Preciosa 4 to 6 minutes. The section that most pertains to everyone, the impromptu section, or also known as table topics, has a time limit of 1 to 2 minutes. So essentially, I don't want to overstep the table topics master role, but you'll be given a prompt and 1 to 2 minutes to respond to that prompt. Now you do have a 15-second grace period below the 1 minute time, as well as a 30-second grace period after the 2 minute time. But we do encourage everyone to reach that 1 minute time as best as possible. And I will also be sending updates in the chat for when you reach those specific time limits. So for example, in table topics, when you reach the 1 minute mark, it'll be 1 minute. When you reach the midpoint of your time, 1:30, and then the 2 minute mark, I'll just simply put in the chat like that as well. And then furthermore, after you're done with your speech, I will be putting the final time in the chat. Other than that, I think that's it for my role. Back to you, Tori.
Solid. Thank you, Tricia. So now that the reporters have given their descriptions of what they do during the meeting, I'm kind of just going to give a little rundown of how this is going to go. So first, we're going to start off with speeches, which is going to be Courtney and Preciosa today. Sorry if I'm so bad with pronunciation. And then we're going to go into the table topics, which is the impromptu speeches, which Tricia just touched on. And then after that, general evaluator will go ahead and do their evaluation. First, we are going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen so that we can give our speakers the full stage. Let me reopen. So our first speaker today will be Courtney Scott, and her speech title is Ancient Trees. Oh, what am I doing? Did I do that? Oh, okay, good. Trees Fuel the World, and it's going to be 5 to 7 minutes, and she's in her level 2 leadership development on Pathway. So Courtney, if you want to go.
Thank you, Tori. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Today, I am going to be talking about a topic that I'm really fascinated by, and I think like at a dinner party, people will be pretty impressed with you. So let's get into it, guys. I'm going to be telling you how ancient trees fuel the world. So before I get into it, I'm going to talk a little bit about fossil fuels. So fossils are the preserved remains of ancient organisms. There are two types of fossils: trace fossils, which are preserved evidence of biological activity like animal tracks, and then there's body fossils, which can be mold fossils, which are the preserved form of an organism, and then cast fossils are fossils in which there was a specimen in the fossil, but over time it was replaced with minerals. And so what's a little bit more uncommon is when organic matter is preserved. And so it could happen if is preserved in tree sap or amber, that would be organic matter for a very long time. And so now we've talked about that, I'm going to talk to you about the Carboniferous period. So the Carboniferous period received its name because of the vast amounts of carbon that was deposited during the time period. It occurred 360 million years ago when Africa, Europe, and the Americas were all on one landmass. The climate was warm and humid, and the landscape was mostly swampy. And there was a ton of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And so we know that plants use carbon dioxide to build biomass, oxygen in the process. Well, the trees, all of that carbon dioxide to grow incredibly tall, some as tall as 160 feet. But because they were primitive trees that had not grown tall before, they easily fell over into the swamps. And that happened for 60 million years of trees falling over into the swamps. And the swamps turned into peat bogs, which are basically just rotten, mushy tree bark stew. And that's just what happened over a long period of time. And so there's some speculation as to why decomposers didn't break down these trees. And so one possible explanation is because The peat bogs would have created an anaerobic environment that's difficult to survive in, but also scientists speculate that maybe lignin-degrading bacteria, which is the bacteria that would break down trees, were either absent or ineffective at the time. So to just kind of continue the story, so the trees were falling into peat bogs, and over time, the continents kind of moved around and shifted, and water and dirt covered those trees. And then eventually heat and pressure turned the trees into coal. So that's what we're talking about today. Fossil fuels are actually the ancient remains of organisms, which I think is kind of tricky. Other fossil fuels were formed when sank to the bottom of the ocean, were covered with sand, and eventually heat and pressure turned them into like crude oil and natural gas. And so we use that to fuel so many things all around the world today. And that's fine, but they're really nasty to be combusting. So fossil fuels are mostly made of carbon and hydrogen, which are greenhouse gases, which trap heat into our atmosphere. So that's what people are talking about when they're talking about global climate change. They also have nitrogen and sulfur and arsenic and mercury and so many other nasty things. They can give off like, carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide, and bad for the environment, and it's really bad for the air that we're breathing. And so why do we keep using these fossil fuels? It's because for the longest time, it was the only way that we could travel far distances, and it was the only way that we could heat and power our homes. But it's really not necessary anymore. There are so many other amazing alternatives that would be sustainable and significantly more clean for our air. And so I just wanted to finish this because currently we are in a new juncture when it comes to sustainable energy and alternatives to dealing with carbon emissions. And so I wanted to talk about these two technologies specifically because they've recently gotten a lot of funding, and so it kind of makes them important. There are a lot of other really cool alternatives, but carbon capture is actually, it's this wall of fans, and there's an ionic liquid at the center of these fans. And so air comes through one side, and the ionic liquid captures the carbon dioxide, and then the rest of the air can come out the other side. And then that ionic liquid can be taken to a facility, and a pure carbon dioxide fuel can be extracted from it. And we can use that in the same way that we use fossil fuel. So I think that's a really cool alternative. Of course, you're still putting carbon dioxide in the air, but it's carbon neutral because you're not taking it from stores in the earth. You're just taking it out of the air and putting it back into the air. And then the other one, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm gonna let you guys develop your own opinion on it. But the other new technology is carbon capture and storage. And so that is when at the facilities where they're combusting these things, instead of allowing it to go into the atmosphere, they actually capture it. And they dig holes deep into the earth, and they have pipes going down there, and they basically just shoot all of the carbon dioxide and all of the emissions into the earth, into aquifers or into caverns in the earth. And sometimes they can use it to enhance underground storage of fossil fuels as well. But I really just don't know what the ramifications of that could be in the future. But of course, there's not a lot of scientific evidence saying that it's bad, so we're doing it anyway. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation today, and I hope you learned something new, and I definitely hope you're able to throw out some of these facts one day when you're with your family. But yeah, that's all I have, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. That was awesome. I'm definitely using some of those facts, by the way. It's just like the bamboo toothbrushes. I used that too. I'm going to go ahead and take about 20 to 30 seconds. And if anybody has any feedback for Courtney, just go ahead and like direct message her. If you can go into the chat, hit 2 and then Courtney, and then give her some feedback if you have any. So we're just going to take about 20 seconds to do that. All right, and then we are going to go ahead and have our second speaker of the day, which is Preciosa. And her speech title is Ranking UGA's Dining Halls, COVID-19 edition. Perfect. And then it's going to be about 5 to 7 minutes. She doesn't have her pathways updated yet, which also I meant to let you know. You can talk to Tricia afterwards about paying dues and getting that sorted out for pathway. So this will be her icebreaker speech. So Preciosa, if you want to go ahead and take the stage.
Hello, guys. Today I would like to talk about how UGA's dining halls are doing in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, first of all, I would like to note that these are truly unprecedented times, and there are so many changes that are happening, from the way that UGA is doing parking to classes, and definitely the dining halls have been affected. Now, the good thing about the dining halls is that they are remaining open because it's an essential service. The students, the faculty, and the staff of UGA need to get their food, and it is very essential that these dining halls are kept open. However, they do not look the exact same way as they did a year ago in 2019. And a lot of people especially on TikTok and on Facebook and other social media platforms, have been voicing their disappointment and their frustrations because the dining halls haven't been the exact same. However, I feel like they still are up to par and up to standards with what we would think a top-notch university dining hall should have. And so I present to you an updated version of what would be a ranking of UGA's dining halls. Now, for those of you who do not know, UGA has 5 dining halls altogether, 4 on the main campus and 1 on the health science campus. However, the health science campus dining hall, otherwise known as the niche, is ranked number 5 out of all the dining halls because they have gone down in quality, and it is not their fault. It's the pandemic's fault. With the niche, like, most of its appeal was through its custom-made burgers and custom-made pizza. You can put ingredients wherever you want for your hamburgers and your cheeseburgers and your pizza. And they also had soft serve ice cream in the choices of vanilla or chocolate. And you cannot have a lot of customizable options for your food because these foods have to be pre-made so that you can go into the dining hall and then you can get them to go, and you can have as little contact with the dining hall staff as possible. However, that is not to say that the niche has less than okay standards. It's still pretty good food. It's just that the hype that the niche has gotten over the years, because it was known as UGA's best dining hall, has gone significantly down because of the pandemic. Now, moving on to number 4. Number 4 on my list for UGA's dining halls is, unfortunately, Snelling Dining Hall. Snelling is one of my personal favorite dining halls because in the past, it was open 24 hours, legitimately 24 hours. And you can go in there and you can have breakfast food, and you can have omelets, and you can go with your friends in your pajamas, and you can have a great time. However, that has been cut short to about just 12 a.m. However, that doesn't mean that Snelling's food quality hasn't been the greatest. It's just that you can't get the same experience. The next dining hall will be on the list is Bolton Dining Hall. And I am saying this because Bolton traditionally has more food variety and more options than Snelling and the Niche. However, it doesn't have nearly as much variety as the next two on the list. And the next one would be Oglethorpe House, also known as O House. Now this one has been very popular among students because of the variety of cuisines that O House has, like Asian food and Mexican food. Now you can still have your hibachi and you can still have your tacos and your tortillas. However, because they cannot customize your order, you have a limited variety. That is not to say, of course, that the quality of the food has gone down. It's just that the experience has gone down. However, the number one dining hall on my list is number one because the quality and experience of the food has traditionally stayed like very much up to par and very much like your money's worth, and that is going to be the ECV Dining Hall, also known as the Village Summit. You can still get your smoothies. You can still get a variety of salads. In fact, ECV has the most variety of salads compared to the other 4 dining halls, especially in the middle of a pandemic. You still have your cook machines. You can still have your hamburgers and your pizza. Now, is the meal plan worth it this semester? In my opinion, I wouldn't pay $2,000 this semester again to be having such a limited amount of food. But if you really need to, you can't afford to be going out to go get groceries, or you want as much convenience as possible, then visit the dining halls accordingly. And I would recommend this list of dining halls that I have curated for you.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So what we're going to go ahead and do is also do another 20-second feedback. So again, go to chat and then and then direct message Preciosa if you have any feedback for her. And while we are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and call on the timer for a report. So Tricia, it's in the chat. Just kidding. So it looks like they were both over by about like 8 to 10 seconds. So
one thing to clarify, Courtney's speech did have an allocated time of 5 to 7 minutes. So including the 30-second grace period, Courtney is within her time boundaries. But for Preciosa, with it being an icebreaker speech, she was a little bit over, but not too much over, like maybe 40 seconds over the allowable grace period.
She did let me know that it was going to be 5 to 7.
Oh, okay.
So I'm, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, then in that case, they're both within.
Okay, cool. So what we are going to go ahead and do then, since they're both in time, I forgot about the grace period. Thank you for reminding me. We are going to vote on best speaker. So if you go to chat again and you hit to Tricia Perez, she will go ahead and count the votes up for
to Noah.
To me.
Yes, to Noah, who will add up the votes. All right, so we are going to segment into our next section of the meeting, which is table topics. So the the topics master for today is also me, so I'm just going to give a little brief introduction of what we're going to be doing. So pretty much it's impromptu speeches. I'm going to put a PowerPoint on the screen, which I will do right now to